shouldn't prefer the writing functionally, like it's, I feel like it's less of a need, like if the.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's all a lot of stuff.
when I was in college, actually, the first computer science class was in ML because it put everyone on the same level. Like, there's some people who've not done really anything.
Yeah, I have no basis to compare.
You're in for sore disappointment if you ever go away.
It seems like enough work learning this that I maybe
If
just
you
stick
start
with it.
functional, everything else is downhill for me. I'm sorry.
Maybe I'll just stick with it then.
Oh yeah,
Don't
yeah,
go.
can't go anywhere else.
So, welcome. We're talking about Yesod today. I know I subtitled this Up and Running, but really what I wanted to talk about today was more about the fundamentals of how Yesod works and to explain away a little bit of the magic of Yesod so that you all feel more comfortable with knowing what is Yesod doing when I do the magic. So,
How do you pronounce it?
Yesod.
Yesod.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
emphasis on the second syllable, right? So,
Yesod. With an O. So we're going to talk about first the FP Haskell Center. We'll talk about your foundation data type, which is like where you put all the, we'll talk about the Yesod type class, which your foundation data type must instantiate to be a Yesod app. We'll talk about Yesod's routing DSL. You don't have to use it, but it's kind of, if you're doing things the Yesod way, it's really nice. I love the DSL. I think it's very simple. We'll talk about the dreaded Yesod's template Haskell and about why it's not that scary. We'll talk about the handler monad, which is how you actually do computation-y things to produce a result. We'll talk about widgets, which are amalgamations of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then we'll finish off with a little hello world, and that's about, so at the end of this we will have a hello world app, but we'll have a pretty good understanding of all the magic that goes on to make it happen. Sound good?
sounds okay. Sounds like hard to do in an hour, but
Well, I'll do what I can. And if time, I'll skip stuff if we run out of time. So let's start with the FB Haskell Center. This is a cloud IDE for Haskell. Everybody go to fbcomplete.com. Pull out your laptops, go to fbcomplete.com, make an account. I want you all to run this app that we're going to make. And you can do it through this cloud IDE. You don't have to install Haskell or anything. That's why it's so nifty.
I'm sorry. I have it all installed, but I just do it locally anyway.
You could do it locally. I suggest you do it on the IDE right now, but you can do it everywhere.
So do you work for FP Complete?
I do not, but they should pay me for this, like seriously, right? There's a free community edition. That's what you should all be using right now. I mean, you can sign up to pay for stuff if you want, but free community edition covers what we're going to use it for today. Let me talk for a second about stackage. How many of you have heard of stackage? Do you know what stackage is? A couple. So how many of you have heard of the Haskell platform? Okay, pretty much everyone. Good. Stackage is basically a very relaxed version of Haskell platform. Maintainers just sort of sign up and say, hey, put my packages into stackage. And FP Complete manages this, and they make sure that stuff builds together, and this is what they use for their IDE. So, it's great because you don't have to install anything. You can just use their IDE. It has all these tons of packages, and they just work because other people are worrying about it, and you don't have to worry about the versions. So check it out.
So if you only get to take advantage of it using their IDE.
You can also use it to install stackage on your own machine, but that's tedious and painful, but it can be done. So it has more benefits than just using their IDE, but that's the main benefit. So check this out. This is the config file. So FPCO is FP Complete's repository of stackage. And so you just add your name down here. I had it on my line, but whatever. So check it out. Gabriel has got pipes and pipes and currency. You know, that he's responsible for in Stack. And it's that easy. You just add your name to this config file, and your stuff will start building. And if it breaks, then they will comment it out and tell you to fix it. Okay.
Quick question, is that just like a one big simultaneous build of all those packages? Okay.
Basically, yeah.
And you're just making certain all the intersecting dependencies work together?
Exactly.
Cool, thank you.
Alright, so, has everybody got their account set up? I didn't just show how to do it, but if you have Google Plus, you just click the Google Plus and give it permissions to know who you are.
Or the persona.
Yeah, or Persona, who uses Persona? Good job. I work for Google, so maybe I should be promoting Google Plus. Use Google Plus. There we go. Job complete. Anyways, so let's clone and run this sample Yesod project real quick. We're not going to use it, but I just want to make sure we're up and running with this. So now if you click, oh, it's displaying differently because I'm on this. But anyways, when you're logged in, if you click your name, then you click new project. Here we have Yesod website clone. If I was smart, I would have this duplicated on my machine, but I don't. So whatever. The screen, I mean. So, we've cloned it. You guys got that? Does anyone have any trouble with that? Okay. So, we've got this thing. Let's look at the main file real quick. Click on main. Blah, 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 comments. Here's main, fourth end of our app. App is defined in foundation. Very simply, it's an instance of Yesod app, and here's the routes. We're not gonna look at this really much. Let's just click play and look at the link to our web app. Click on it, right? See down here. So up here, let me explain real quick. Up here is the compilation bar. So if you got the green thumbs up, it compiles. Yay. Then you click the play button, or since I've clicked it, it's the little refresh button, and it will run your main function. And if it's a web app, it'll give you a link. You click on the link, and boom, it's our web app running on the FP Complete cloud or whatever. So this is just their free testing development. If you want to actually deploy, you got to pay them, or deploy it yourself. But this is cool for testing, cool for learning. So has everybody deployed their own version of this sample site? Going good? Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so yeah, you just follows those steps. You've got it cloned and running. Cool. Any questions so far? We haven't really gotten into anything yet, but it's just, we've got ourselves set up with FB Complete. Lovely.
What do we need to do after running?
There's a little, in the console portion, it says here's a link to your web app. You can just
Okay.
click it, and that'll take you to
Or-
a live running instance of your
Cool.
That's not what I have in my console.
What do you have?
Non-scope handler.markdown.main.
Okay, did you delete something or change something? Huh.
Give me a few minutes. I'll figure it out.
Okay. We're gonna throw it away and go from
Yeah.
scratch. So, if you have problems with going from scratch, then I'll come over and make sure you're keeping up with us. But yeah, that's just an example. I just wanted to show you sort of the end goal. So now let's talk about the foundation data type. So let's create an empty project, and in it we're going to put data app equals app. That's our foundation data type. Our foundation data type doesn't have anything in it, but what it can have in it is app global state, stuff that you want to set up before your application is actually deployed. And the common example is a database connection. Like, you acquire a database connection, and then as long as your server instance is running, you have this data connection that's, that you use. So any app global state you want to shove into your foundation data type. We don't have any, so ours is just has a simple constructor with no arguments.
You say you were starting from scratch. Was there something to do here?
Let me show you. I'm actually going to pull it up. So yes, I lost my notes. Here we go. So, I'm gonna create a new project. This is where you create an empty project. I'm just gonna call it, Yesod begin or whatever. I don't want to give it a description. Just create. Here we are. So they give us main. It compiles, thumbs up, let's run it. Okay, it's running, that's lovely. This is just something that printed to the console, that BayHac center. Data app equals app. Okay, it compiles. We're on a roll. So, we're not actually going to have something to run until the very end. But along the way, we're going to type some stuff and we're going to make sure it compiles. And maybe we'll hit compilers and explain what they mean. But here we go. So, any questions about foundation data type? Did that sort of make sense what it's for?
Basically, it's a knit. It's initialization.
It's initialization. So, yeah. For example, if you want to have like an in-memory counter of how many people have seen your site, you would initialize a mutable reference and you stick it in your app data type. And then, in your actions, you can access it and update the mutable variable.
Well, this is just convention, right? There's nothing so far as actually so.
That's correct. That is convention. So, in order to use Yesod, you need to create a foundation data type. And you need to make it an instance of the Yesod type class. So, the Yesod type class, we're going to put app right here when we do our instance Yesod app. And the Yesod type class has a couple of configurations. One of them is app root, where it can look at your app global state, and then it needs to produce some text for what is the web root. And by default, it's going to be a local. It's going to be local. And there's also default layout, which will turn a widget into HTML. So you give it some HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then it will add on the boilerplate like HTML body, and it'll enclose things and give it a default layout. So actually, the Yesod type class is a lot more complicated than that. It's actually got a ton of stuff in it, but they all have default implementations. Everything has a default implementation. So this is how you configure how Yesod works with the way you want it. So if you need to configure your app root to be a specific root, or if you need to configure maximum content length to make sure that you're not being spammed or whatever. Things like that. There are tons and tons of configurations, and you can read the book for a little more in-depth explanation of what the configurations are. We don't need any of those configurations for our stupid little example, so I just want to mention that there's tons of configuration in there, and that's what the type class is for. You may notice this. So Yesod site, the Yesod class is a subclass of render route. And render route is type safe URLs. So when you create an instance of render route, you create a data type, which is the route of A. A is going to be, again, your app, just our foundation data type. So route of our foundation data type will be the type of URLs of our website. And this is what makes them type safe. And then you also need to provide this, this function that will consume your URL type and produce whatever it needs. We're not actually going to write that. It does not come with a default instance, but template Haskell will generate an implementation for us. Sound good? So template Haskell is going to generate how to route our site. And we're going to describe it at a high level with our routing DSL. How are we feeling so far? Feeling all right? Okay. So, in the cloned example, it has this, and I just copied it here so we don't have to pull it out. But the syntax is, on each line you have the path